Welcome to Dare to Disagree, ladies and gentlemen, your weekly episodic podcast where we a couple of average Joes who do pretty good for ourselves. Go ahead and tell you guys exactly what you need to do to straighten out your lives. I'll be your host, Jonathan Esther out of California.
This is Alone in the Dark in Colorado.
This is Puppet Master, and as always, it's none of your damn business.
Yeah, that's the lineup for today. We're not really planning on having anyone else on today because we have a lot going on in the background. So this will be the crew for today.
You guys don't even want to hear about that story, but I am planning on making a mini series about it eventually, so you have to look forward to.
All right, so we're gonna go mine first, right?
Yep.
All right. So to start off, we've had a conversation about what I'm going to talk about right now for a little while. Now, I don't have the link to pull it up right now, but Oxford University in England on the 29th officially decided that they were going to keep their statue of Cecil Rhodes. Now, the Cecil Rhodes statue issue has been going on for a couple of years, actually. What happened is Oxford has a statue of this dignified guy from England who was this raging racist, but he was also a big part of the history of Oxford. So they had a statue to commemorate him, but a lot of, now that it's a lot more multicultural at Oxford, a lot of those multicultural students are talking about you can't really have us studying under the statue of like. So it sparked the conversation again about airbrushing history and people trying to decide whether they want to, alter history so that it's not as terrible as it is. Because the guys who want to bring the statue down are saying it's ridiculous that we have to study with this figurehead representation of this enormous racist, while Oxford, which, as I said, has decided to keep the statue, is saying, listen, this guy's a part did was he had a lot of awful views, but at the end of the day, he's an integral part of Oxford history, and we can't hide our history. So this is, as with all things, it hasn't been that big in the deal in the United States, but I've already seen a couple of people bring it up in forums in America about things like Tom Sawyer and the fact that they use the N-word in Tom Sawyer and all that, and trying to decide whether they want to airbrush history. Now, I think we've had a say on this topic before, so I'm pretty sure we're going to run through this pretty quickly, but I wanted to run through it again. You guys are not for airbrushing history, right?
Well, we've had a conversation kind of like this, but not quite this topic. And here's the thing. I'm pretty sure we're all on the same board with this. The minute we start editing history and removing the figures that represent the racism or the bad and the good shit that happened in the United States or in the world, is the minute we start forgetting that shit existed, and we're bound to repeat that at some form or fashion because we had nothing to look at and said, you know how fucked up that was? That's simple.
You agree to Alone in the Dark?
Well, I mean, my thing is number one, we have to. I'm a big proponent. We have to follow truthful history. I mean, especially right now during election season, the U.S. is terrible about actually having a truthful account of history. Yeah. Our whole fucking founding fathers is a whole bunch of bullshit. Every freaking person you talk to has a different version of what the founding fathers wanted. But I do think there's a big difference between seeing, understanding history, learning about it, knowing what happened, blah blah blah, and celebrating, which I mean is kind of a issue here. And this guy didn't just have racist views. I mean, he was like integral in killing tens of thousands of Africans.
Yeah.
That's if it was just some guy who said, "Man, I don't like black people." Well, you know what? I personally think freedom of speech should be free. It's the government shouldn't do anything about it. It's what other people do with you of how that should be worked out, you know?
Yeah.
But it's different when it's an actual fucking murderer. Somebody who freaking killed people, butchered people, this and that. And this isn't just a historical document that they're trying to erase him from. This is a big statue commemorating this guy. I mean, it's kind of like in Japan. You know, Japan and China have those issues. And when Japan freaking went into China, they butchered, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly even into millions of people. You know, horrible shit. Raped, killed, fucking tortured, blah, blah, blah. Men, women, children, infants, unborn children. The whole fucking works, you know? Well, they have little, what's it called? What the fuck is that? What the hell are you doing, Puppet Master?
What?
Counting all that moolah.
But anyways, they have a big issue where they apologize for it, said, hey, that was wrong, this and that. But then some of their politicians will run and go celebrate these guys and, you know, do like war memorials and this and that. That's kind of an issue to me. You can't really apologize for this shit while celebrating them on the back half, you know. If this a statue is pretty much a celebration of somebody, you don't put up a statue. You don't see any statues of Hitler. Yeah, Hitler was wrong. You know, he did bad stuff, but hey, I mean, he was a great politician, a great statesman, military leader. We should put up a statue of him. That's how we need to remember Hitler. No.
Well, hold on a sec. Let's think about this for a second. When they put the statue up, I'm not for or against regardless either one. I just don't think we should forget history. That is my biggest thing. But did they put up the statue in representation of in reminder of the things that he did besides the genocide and racism, or were they celebrating the fact that he was a racist? And should his racism completely negate the positive and good things he did on the other side?
But I think racism is putting it lightly. I mean, how much positive do you have to do?
I did say genocide. I mean,
how much positive do you have to do to negate that?
Well, I'm not talking about negating it. I'm saying that they could co-equally exist. That he did this, yes, he did this, and the statue can represent both the positive and the negative. It gives people a conversation piece. Someone's like, oh, the statue down there, the guy did this, this, and this, and then someone else is like, but did you also know that he did this? If you take that statue down, that conversation may never happen.
Okay, so the reason I brought up this topic and I let you guys go for a minute is because ultimately I wanted to get to the question which is at the core of this entire conversation, which is how do you we don't want our children in third grades getting graphic stories of the pilgrims massacring Indians and graphic imagery about that. That's not what every parent wants. But also I don't want my college, I don't want a college student to go in and get the, nice Abraham Lincoln story about him not owning slaves. How should we shield people from history? And if we do, how?
You shouldn't. History should be as plain as fuck. No, you shouldn't. I don't want my children babied when it comes to talking about Thanksgiving and fucking pilgrims and fucking Indians. You know what? I want my kids to know the bloodshed and the fucking ridiculousness that happened. I want them to know that. You know why? Because I don't shade my I don't shield them from anything. They know what the world is like, even at their age, 9 and 5. They know what the fuck is up, and they should. Because everyone else is too goddamn naive, and it's going to get somebody fucking in trouble or hurt, and they're going to be like, well, I didn't know any better. The fuck you didn't. You know why you didn't know any better? Because your parents didn't teach you better.
And I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't, and I see what you mean. There should be a, not necessarily shielding, but waiting to the right age type situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go over with my freaking 6-year-old daughter the fucking massacre in China. All the rapes and torture, shit like that. But there should be no point that they're blocked from learning it.
Yeah.
And we need to remember this shit happened in order to prevent it from happening again. I think and it's irritating me right now because a lot of people are forgetting that pretty much the entire world, politics, history, everything is never black and white as people make it seem. Okay, it's never that way. You know, like according to most World War II history, you'll see Hitler rose up just because he was an evil guy and tortured everybody. No, he filled a fucking need. You know, there is a contention that if the freaking Allied forces after World War I hadn't just brutalized Germany how they did and taken advantage of them for losing, that Hitler would have never had a chance. We need to own our fucking part of that. You know, does that make that our fault? No. But could we have handled that better? Is it something we need to think about as we're rebuilding countries, as we're dealing with countries that we've beaten in wars and this and that? Yes, we definitely need to think about that. So I think all the time we need to look at accurate history as much as possible. But I don't think having a conversation about it requires having a fucking statue up. I don't think. I mean, what's next? We need to have a fucking day, a national holiday, to commemorate some evil that happened, so that people talk about it. No.
We do.
So we should
do. We have holidays for that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we don't need. Those are celebrations for whatever the fuck they're pretending to celebrate.
Yeah, what he's saying is we do have
right,
holidays that are supposed to be that, but they're not accurately representing it.
Well, I understand that, but if you take away symbolism completely for historical events, the conversation may never happen. This forces the conversation to happen. People will talk about it. People will have cited stories one way or the other, but the conversation happens. If you take that away, it tends to get whitewashed, all right? And then it becomes one-sided, and then over time people forget the fucking good or the bad, whichever side is the predominant side, it usually prevails. And then whatever that person did on the other flip side, or event occurred, fucking tends to get washed away, and history isn't accurate anymore.
But it's getting
But
washed away
if it's in your face, you were forced to have that conversation one way or another.
All right, go ahead.
It's getting washed away with stuff we celebrate right now. I mean, Columbus Day. You know, everybody celebrates Columbus. I don't see a higher percentage of people that know Columbus did not discover North America, or Columbus brutalized the fucking people here. He created a slave trade, this and that. I really doubt there's any higher percentage of people that understand the real history of Columbus after we made a holiday of it than before. You know, this celebrating
you're absolutely right.
Things right here is just as much whitewashing as it. I mean, I guarantee most people probably had no idea that Rhodes fucking committed all this shit when that's there. And I doubt they put it up because he did all these good things and it kind of counterbalanced the bad. No, it's when they put it up, I mean, what was it, back in the 1800s or something like that? They didn't give a shit about what he did in Africa either. It was we don't care about this, we care what he did for the country.
Right, and I'm not saying that they did. The thing is that I'm saying because it's there, the conversation happens that he did this, and then somebody knows the flip side of what he fucking did, and that conversation now happens. If that statue's never there, they don't really talk about it at all, and that conversation can never happen.
All right, so that's in the context of this story, but let me broaden the scope a little more. A lot of things I talk about with people that come from other countries, especially third world countries, one of the big things that is clear to notice when you come to the U.S. is, one, you have an alcohol age limit. Most of those countries don't. And two, you have a censorship thing when it comes to violence on TV. So if there's a gang shooting, it's pixelated, whereas in other countries, they don't pixelate it. If there's a gang shooting and you're watching the news, you're going to see the gang shooting. You're going to see whatever the cameras are capturing. And anybody can go to the store to buy beer. Anybody can. Because the way they look at it is like it's the parents' responsibility to watch the children and make sure the children don't drink underage. Plus, most kids don't really want to drink beer. They're too busy trying to get sweet soda. But do you think that level of sheltering is adequate?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. You went in two different directions. We're talking about
And I am,
you know,
and I am.
media censorship, and then you're talking about alcohol, and then there's two
No,
different things.
I'm talking about censorship, period. I'm trying to get you guys to kind of tell me where your line is as far as censorship. We obviously agree on something like, okay, we need laws on the road because there are many people driving. But okay, since you're saying history whitewash, everybody should know everything, and you don't want your the next generation to be naive. What about in an
Right.
instance like crime? We have
Okay.
pixelated violence on TV. Would you want those pixels taken off?
Yes.
That makes sense. Now, what about alcohol?
I
Should we
think
have a
that
21-year?
alcohol age limit to buy alcohol should be 18. If a parent, however, wants to let their kid consume alcohol below the age of 18, that is at the discretion of the parent. But you should at least be an adult before you're able to purchase on your own. That way, the control is still within the parent's capability. If you remove that restriction, then there is. I mean, you're telling me that I have to literally every time my child leaves the house at 17 years old, I have to hold their fucking hand.
So that kind of gives me a greater idea of what you're saying. You're basically saying all across the board there should be reasonable, um, there should be open content for everybody to access. There shouldn't be any restrictions except for specific safety reasons, like you said, the 17-year-old, 18-year-old to buy alcohol, just because it
Yep.
shouldn't legally be right for anyone under that to buy.
Well, they're not legally responsible for themselves till they're 18. I am.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming you agree with all this Alone in the Dark, because I agree with all of it. It makes sense.
Yeah, and this picture kind of brings it up. I think a lot of times this whole protect the kids notion just gets abused to attack grown fucking adults. I mean,
Yeah.
between protecting and like this one shows anti-terrorism, it
Mhm.
it doesn't ever work out the way it's supposed to. And let's be honest, okay? What age were you guys when you saw your first porno?
Jeez.
Shit. Through the fuzzy lines of HBO and Cinemax.
Man, and
I was way too young.
and that was back in our day where you actually had to get a fucking VHS tape or fucking see Cinemax late at night or some shit like that. Kids nowadays can pull this shit up on their phone. You know how much that would have changed my life? Being able to pull porn up on my phone? I don't remember how old I was, but I remember I was so young that the porno I was watching was Santa Claus and his reindeer, and the reindeer were bitches. Okay? And like Santa Claus came into the house bitching to Mrs. Santa Claus, who was sexy as all get out, like, man, there's reindeer crap all the time. And then the reindeer came in who were women, and the first thought through my mind as a kid was, wait, are these bitches out there shitting on the yard? What? So I was pretty young, you know what I mean? No, shit, never fucking.
You already have that remade, man. That sounds like a good plot.
I don't know. It was hilarious though. It was a good show. Mrs. Santa Claus definitely top notch. But this shit doesn't work. Kids get to it. It's like people complain about cussing around. Don't cuss around my baby. Man, shut up. Okay.
Shut the fuck
kids,
up.
I cuss around my kids all the time. They don't cuss. And matter of fact, my kids are. I remember one time my son was like going, "Yeah, my friend said a bad word. Like, well, what did he say? Well, I don't want." And Ari, it's okay. Just say it. You're not going to be in trouble. And finally, after like a couple minutes of work, he fucking spit it out.
Yeah.
But this shit's you're not protecting your kids from anything when you're just hiding it from them. There's a difference between protecting your kids, being responsible and all, and educating on them and telling them what's right and wrong, than just avoiding it and hiding it and fucking. I mean, that's the classic. If you're Christian, that's the classic issue with Eve. She wasn't really told what was wrong with this shit, and she ran and ate the fucking apple,
Yeah.
Tell her. Sit down with her and fucking tell them. Talk to them about it. Talk with your ugly fucking kids. It's not that bad, okay?
But and we take this back in the context of the original talk, which is Alan history or fucking Jonathan Esther talking about history. When it comes to the kids, to me, there's a difference between shoving a one-sided history down their throat, or shoving reality down their throat, or letting reality happen. Like when the conversation naturally occurs, that is great. I'm all for that. But hiding that conversation and keeping him from that conversation when it is inevitably time to have that conversation is a problem. And we're doing one or the other. We're not having the conversation. We're either controlling the conversation so much that it's one-sided, or we're avoiding the conversation altogether, and they're misinformed, and by the time they're in position to either go to college or influence other people, they're making fucked up decisions, and they're passing fucking bum scoop on the way the fucking world really works, because they've been sheltered their whole entire lives one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think a flip side to that is parents kind of forcing this shit on their kids before the kids are ready. Like, for
Absolutely.
example, I've seen a couple times of people spreading it like, look how cool these parents are, where it's like a 4 or 5-year-old kid who apparently is gay and they are totally okay with it. A 4 or 5-year-old kid shouldn't be gay, straight, or anything. That's fucking ridiculous. These parents, and I've seen a couple incidents where the kid is, we have a gay son, we're celebrating that he's gay, and then the kid hits puberty and wants to fuck bitches. He wasn't gay. He doesn't even know what the fuck he wants yet till his balls drop. You're fucking driving this shit off, you know? And I remember when I was a kid, I saw one time, I think we were taking my little sister to school, and there was like a first grade class. The kids put together this thing to stop the war in Iraq. Okay, really? You think I really believe that shit, that these kids thought that up? This is some teacher using these fucking kids to do her whole agenda. Okay? I agree with it, but that's fucked up that you're using these goddamn kids like that. They don't need to be talking about war. They don't need to be figuring this shit out. They're in first grade. They need to be sticking macaroni on a construction paper.
Now
Leave this shit out of it, you know?
here's the flip side to what you said. I absolutely agree with you, and this is the opposite of that. When I was in boarding school, when I was 10 years old, we had a guy who I eventually discovered was gay. But at the time, we knew he was gay. We just didn't realize it.
Oh, I bet you did know he was gay.
He was incredibly feminine. And he was just incredibly feminine about everything. And we're in a Catholic boarding school, so I proceeded to watch them constantly try to push him towards women. Like, he didn't really care either way at the time. With 10-year-old kids, we're just starting to get interested in girls. But we knew he was gay, and yet he kept getting pushed into girls. And anytime he would try to have any kind of an open conversation about it, he would immediately get mocked or shut down or pushed aside, cast aside.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you that they shouldn't be pushed in the direction like a 5-year-old being told they're gay, which is absolutely ridiculous. But the flip side is correct too. If your child happens to be gay, go with the puppet master statement. Naturally, let that conversation occur. You know, there should, and I think it all wraps up into that pretty much. Just naturally let the evolution occur. Don't jump that gun because you don't know actually what your kid is feeling.
Yeah. You know, and here's another side to, the whole issue that kind of supports puppet masters, which is, where do we stop this cleaning up of this shit? Okay, Cecil Rhodes right now, we're in agreement. He killed a bunch of people. Well, okay, we're not in agreement, but he killed a bunch of people. We all agree that's awful stuff, right? I hope, right, puppet master?
Yeah.
But,
who'd they kill? No, just kidding.
Would they vote for Hillary? Otherwise, fuck them. But where do we? I mean, we keep as a humanity, which is a good thing in my opinion. We keep getting more and more calmed down. Okay, like if you look way back, like as far back in history as we could track, we were some murderous sons of bitches. I think back in like just out of caveman day, like right when we started to build communities, the percentage of you dying by the hand of another man, 60%. Right now, it's like 0.0003% or some shit like that. 60% chance you were going to die by the hands of another man. If you look at shit we did, like during the Middle Ages or shit like that, like there was one thing where they would take a cat, put a cat in a bag, and then slowly lower it over a fire, roasting the cat inside the bag, while everybody stood around and celebrating and laughing and fucking clapping and shit like that. So we're calming down, But what happens when we take this a couple steps? Let's say 50 years from now, there's this whole gender thing. There's 100 fucking genders right now. You're supposed to respect all of them. What happens 50 years from now? Martin Luther King, hey, yeah, he did these great things, but he totally decided his kid was a boy when his kid didn't decide. We should take down his roads and statues and shit like that. It sounds ridiculous right now, but will it be in 50 years or 100 years? Where do we draw that line at, and who's going to draw the line? Our line fucking right now is going to be vastly different from how it's going to be in a couple decades. So I don't know how that stops, And is this a problem that we're tearing down these statues and shit like that? They apparently thought it was okay, 150 years ago, but now here it is today. We're like, no, black people are people too, supposedly. So now we're against it.
I think we focus so much on trying to edit or clean up the image of history, and not enough time and energy focused on cleaning up the present day situation amongst the general population. So fucking leave that shit alone and fucking fix yourself and fix your neighbor. We got way more issues right now that are way more important than the shit that already happened.
Yeah.
If you focus on that, maybe we won't repeat history.
I don't know, though. I mean, the problem is history is so gray that whatever it's almost like a religion, if you want to. It's so gray, and everybody wants to turn it into black and white, that you can make up whatever decision you want and pretend that's historical. Okay, there's a bunch of people right now saying, to use today's politics, deregulation caused the fucking depression and the Great Recession, blah blah blah. We need to stop deregulating because it fucking damages, it ends up overturning the fucking economy. But there's a bunch of people who go, matter of fact, Jonathan Esther, there's that one guy. Regulation is what caused the fucking Great Depression and the Great Recession. So we need to stop over-regulating and start deregulating a bunch of stuff, and then we won't have this shit. Now, in my opinion, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think there should be smart regulations, but they need to really be there. But I think that's the problem. Because the answer's in the middle, which the answer is almost always in the fucking middle, especially shit political and social and shit like that, that if you want to pick and choose where you're looking, you can make history say whatever the fuck you want it to say,
Yep.
It's kind of like one historian being Jonathan Esterlist to Dan Carlin, which I would highly suggest everybody checking out his shit if you have the time. But he talks about, like, Genghis Khan. A lot of historians put him as, because of what he did, he ended up building the infrastructure for that entire area. He brought a bunch of communities together who would never associate with each other before. The industry just went everywhere. People ended up benefiting a whole bunch. But you got to remember, he killed millions upon millions upon millions of people. Like, he killed so many people that when we send scientists to the fucking ice caps, they could do a core drill and they'll figure out right where Genghis Khan went through. Because so many people died, the fucking oxygen levels changed in the world.
Yep.
That's a crazy amount of people, But at the end, there is some benefits that came out of that. There's a whole lot of detriments, like raped women, murdered men, fucking civilizations destroyed. Arguably, the reason Baghdad is still in such a shithole is because of what Genghis Khan did. But you could look at it both ways. He's a horrible, murdering son of a bitch, or look at all the shit he did for us, and we all benefit to this day of what he did, when the answer is in the middle. He was both, Hitler, to bring him up again. He did all kinds of horrible shit I don't think I need to go into. But there was a lot of good social benefits that he did too. There's a reason he has such high support. Not only in Germany, there was a bunch of people in the U.S. that supported Hitler. That's because he wasn't all bad. Not everything he did was fucking evil. He did a lot of shit to bring people to him, and then he did evil shit once he was in control, But you can look at it both ways. Luckily right now, 99% of the world agrees, yeah, Hitler was evil. You have that 1% of skinheads and people that, which it's weird for me because Jews are such not a problem in my life. It's so weird to hear people who hate them so passionately.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even know the last time I've seen a Jew, you know? And every time I have, they've been ridiculously polite. They're almost like Mormons. You know, every Mormon I've ever been around, polite, friendly, nice people. Same thing with Jews. Every Jew I've ever been around. So it's so weird seeing, for me, people just hate them. You know, people accusing them of all the Illuminati, shit like that, controlling Hollywood, shit like that. It's really weird for me. But I don't know, man. That's my issue is even people who look into history end up just finding the answers they want anyways, you know?
I think that puts the gavel on that one. All right. So people, quit fucking with history is the conclusion here. All right.
Yep.
You had one there, Alone in the Dark?
Yeah, and it kind of ties into what we did. I can't find it right now. But some women on my Facebook shared this thing, which was a little boy, I want to say he was like 7, 8 years old, who they were painting his nails and here it is. So my stepson told me a few weeks ago that girls can't have painted nails because it's just for girls, or boys can have painted nails because it's just for girls. I said that's silly. Boys could paint their nails if they want to. In fact, I paint daddy's nails sometimes. So today I broke out the nail polish and painted daddy's toes. This guy was like, "You're silly." Then I painted his toes, and the conclusion of this is no 3-year-old needs gender stereotypes. How do you guys feel about this?
I think we just covered it. I think any maniac who's talking gender stereotypes with a 3-year-old has bigger problems.
Yeah, but I mean, what if he's asking for it? You know, I mean, if you say no, aren't you just performing gender stereotypes?
If a 3-year-old is asking me to play around with nail polish, we'll play around with nail polish. I'll just explain what nail polish is and what it does.
And did you see that one? There's another one of some dad going around with his son in a Frozen outfit.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I mean, here's where I stand with that. It's not. Your adults are putting way more symbolism. Like we've covered it this whole show. Adults are putting way more symbolism on these actions than the kids are.
Yeah.
Like okay, let's be honest here. Does anybody at least not know one person who's worn heels as a joke? Or one kid that's come in the room with their mom's heels as a joke?
Shit, I've done it.
Everybody's done it at least once. It's funny. Take your mom's clip-on earrings, your mom's wig, you run around, they laugh, it's hilarious. It's not that big a deal.
See, that's my point right there, you know? It's not that big of a deal, but here it is, my wife comes in bitching at me for wearing her underwear and yelling at me and stuff like that. I need to fucking lay off, you know?
Were you 3-year-old when you were doing this?
3 days ago, but whatever.
Same diff. But I mean...
She's just mad because like your balls are on each side of the G-string.
Yep.
I think the reason this is also kind of a big deal is, well, it doesn't compute very much as I don't really care what strangers think about what I do or what my child does. Like I care about what people I know think. You know, if people I care about start questioning something I'm doing or something that I thought, yeah, that's the time for me to pause and look. But if a stranger is saying something ridiculous about my child, I mean, it's kind of like what Puppet Master said. Then you just raise a naive child if you keep running away from stuff like that or keep not confronting it. You just approach it and have a conversation about it.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. You know, I like you guys to a degree, right?
To a degree.
I will tell you this. I don't give a fuck about what you think about me. The only people that matter about me is my kids and my wife. That's it. I don't care about anybody else's thoughts. I really don't care what you think about me as an individual.
That's
that's
there's so
simple.
much I've wanted to tell you.
That's
for so
fine,
long.
and please do, because at the end of the conversation, I'm going to be like, who gives a fuck? So what it comes down to is you shouldn't care that much about what other people think about you or your kids, for that matter. All that matters is that you raise somebody that's going to be a productive member of society, and that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
And
That's
then,
all you should care about.
Here's the ultimately the buck stops with your significant other. That's not without question. But what I meant when I'm stating something like I take criticism from the people I know is if there's anybody who's gonna critique you and you will at least give it time of day, it should be people you care about or people that
True.
you know care about you. If
True.
ultimately you're using their input to base a decision off of. They're not that
Mhm.
be all end all. That be all end all, like you said, should be your children and your spouse, obviously. But if there's anybody who's gonna say, except for you, yes, we got that. But
yeah, I mean,
if there's
I don't understand what you guys are saying because I really don't care my wife's opinion on raising my kids. You know, like I told her she wanted like we're naming the kids. You know, I picked my kids' names and she wanted a different name. I was like, listen, when you go out and have your own kids, you can name whatever you want. But as long as you're having my kids, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that, Jonathan Esther, because you guys are part of the small circle that I do take in consideration input before I do make decisions.
like if
Depending on what they are. I mean, there's certain times where I do get a hold of Alone in the Dark, and I've done it recently about specific financial decisions and stuff like that. But
like
the other stuff,
if I
it's
go
very
out
rare that I give a shit.
if I go out to get a pink Volkswagen Beetle, and I'm sending you guys pictures of a pink Volkswagen Beetle, and you mock me mercilessly, if I still want that Beetle, I'll leave the lot with the Beetle. But at the end of the day, I'm probably not going to take it because if you're mocking me, there's a reason. I I can I can actually pay credence to that. That being said, if I went to a lot and looked at that same Volkswagen Beetle, and some big muscle-bound guy goes, "Hey, aren't you kind of a fag buying that car?" Don't care, man. Don't care. Don't care. My squad didn't really care. I wanted it. Don't care.
That's when you look at it and be like, what's really gay is that you care what car I'm driving.
I'll tell you what, man. I told you guys before,
Uh-huh.
but I had a Beetle for a short while. I had at least one for a year, and I had a blast in that fucking car, man. I mean, yeah, I got a lot of shit for it, but gee, it's a light little car, had a fucking turbo and a 6-speed. I was throwing that shit all over the place,
I
and
heard.
I could park it anywhere.
I heard that's the case about those ones and Ford Fiestas. I heard they get the same rating. Like people mock people, but the guys that have them or the girls that have them love those cars.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's my thing, is I'm told if you're like my wife's painted my nails before as a grown fucking adult, it doesn't fucking bother me. She like painted my thumbnails at one point, and I had that shit for like 3 days because I always forgot to fucking take it off, But on the flip side, I see all this shit of these women, celebrating a boy acting like with somebody who consider feminine, like this dress or the painted nails, this and that. But also, it has to work the other way with the girls, Like, and I think that's even more important. There is some issues with boys, struggling, or boys and men struggling because they have to act manly all the time, and that ends up fucking hurting them in the long run. But the way women are constantly harassed about their looks, their dress, fucking their hair, their makeup, etc., it fucking blows my mind, And I see girls get pushed away from that shit all the time. I've heard women say, women who would label themselves as feminists tell their daughter, like, what do you do? Go do your hair. No man's ever going to watch you. Who fucking cares? And so it has to work both ways. You know what I mean? But number one, let the kids make their own decisions, okay? Don't be throwing them in a dress because you want to have a cool fucking Facebook photo. And number two, everybody needs to quit really arguing with each other about how they raise their kids. An important thing for me, if you're raising your kid, is how attentive to the situation you are. Other than that, you might do it a totally different way from how I raise my kids. That's okay. Kids are just as different as people are. They're almost people themselves. They almost have a soul, So they're going to need to be raised differently. If you're doing it different from somebody else, they're not right, you're not wrong. Everybody's just doing their own fucking thing,
all right.
Yep.
So since we're talking gender stereotype, quick detour. Cat calls, yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay?
Yeah, I don't really. I don't. I never saw what that accomplished other than to be
Here's
overly
what I think
barren.
it accomplished. It accomplished for the guys, okay, which is ridiculously embarrassing. And I totally understand that. I'm going to talk just from the guy's perspective, okay? If you're a guy and you're screaming at a woman while standing with a group of your friends as she's walking past, that just tells me you're a fucking coward, okay? Instead of you going up to her and talking to her, asking for her name, asking for her number, and taking the risk at being rejected, you're just trying to look brave in front of your boys and yelling at her from across the street where she can't do shit about it.
And you practically kind of expect the
Which,
rejection, so
which she was gonna reject you anyway. So now you got the cool points. Is that where we're going with this?
yeah.
Exactly. You know, every time I've never seen a guy. Well, it might be self-confirming, but 99% of the time I ever see a guy do that is when they're around a group of the boys. You know, you get a guy in a big group of, they're all going out to the bars. That's when they start screaming at women and shit like that. Or on a construction site, there's guys all around. It's almost exclusively for men to impress other men about how brave they are. When really you're not being brave at all. Being brave is going up, asking for it, and taking the risk of getting rejected. That's being a fucking man,
Yep.
So beyond the whole side of how women are being harassed or women are being intimidated, this and that, just as a man looking at other men do it, that's fucking embarrassing, man. Grow the fuck up or get some balls and go ask this bitch on a date,
For me, I'm weird on sense. No, in general, I agree with you guys. In general, no catcalling. But I've seen catcalling done in certain situations where it's not rude. But again, we've actually addressed all those issues. Most of the time, people that catcall, it's usually in a group of guys with cowardice and all that. When I've seen catcalling done right, it's usually between friends.
Yeah.
So in that situation, yeah, sure, catcall.
But that's not really catcalling at that point. That's a whole different intent.
Yeah, I don't know what the definition of that would be. That's the weird part. It would still fall on, if someone I know, hey, Melissa, you're looking fine today, girl. It's still a catcall, but it's a different thing. But what I'm saying is, even in that dynamic, there is but this is where you can use it, and it's not a bad thing. Even in that awful dynamic.
I'm gonna give a challenge out there to all the guys that end up in a situation where they're with their buddies that catcall somebody. Obviously, everyone in that group is thinking, she's fine, we ain't got a chance. Hey girl, what's up? That's a fine ass, right? And you're gonna get shut down, right? You already know this.
You already know.
Be the friend that watches your buddy do that, and then go talk to her, because I guarantee you probably get her number, because you're not the asshole that did it.
Yep.
So just try it, see what happens, and then if it works, hit us back on the show. Let us know that your guy's a punk and you ended up with the date and he didn't.
So what you're saying is I should round up a posse to catcall women, and then I'll go behind them.
Yep.
Pick up the women. All right.
Or punk your friend out in front of her, and if he knows it's coming, it's cool. That man, quit being a dick and fucking walk up and talk to her like a normal person.
but while we're on that subject, I totally think catcalling is fucking rude, okay?
Yeah.
But one issue I have with women right now is thinking that men are being rude for coming up and ask in proposition of, hey, can I get your number, this and that. They throw a fit about that almost like it's the same as catcalling. No, it's not, okay? If a guy's coming up showing that he's interested in you, that in and of itself is not him being rude, because guess what? We have to do that. Okay, just about every woman I've ever been with, I had to make the first fucking step.
Yeah.
Okay? Women I talk to, I've known a bunch of women who go, man, I'm really interested in this guy. Well, go ask him out on a date. No. I'll wait to see if he asks. You guys, and I totally understand wanting him to come to you. Guys, as in general, should understand how fucking uncomfortable being rejected is. And a lot of women want to avoid that. It's kind of what do you call that? Cultural right now, where men have to make that first step. I don't think it's right. I think women, if you want something, you should go and get it. But as of right now, 99% of the time, a guy is gonna have to make that first step, and him doing that is not rude. I mean, depending on how he does it. If he sends you a fucking dick picture, yeah, okay, fuck that. He's a fucking asshole, you know. But if he comes up respectfully and tries to start talking to you and tries to get fucking your number, tries to fucking dance with you, that's not in and of itself rude. That's not on the same level as catcall. This guy's putting himself out there. You know, I mean, he pretty much understands there's high chances of being rejected, and he's fucking doing that. Okay? Yeah. If you women want that to stop, it's in your power. You just need to start making the propositions, making the first move. And I think they'll end up way better for it. How many times have we seen women just get with some fucking scumbags? Because he's the one who came and fucking sold himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They leave all these good, decent guys who'll take care of them behind because this guy's not brave enough to fucking speak to him, and they go for the asshole who fucking doesn't care about her feelings and will go up and talk to her, you know? Yep. You guys need to start going to get what you want. If there's a guy you like, go ask him out. Trust me, he's not going to be offended. Even if you're the ugliest woman in the world, if you go ask a guy out, it's still going to make him feel better, okay? He's still going to have a hard time saying no to you, okay? So fucking start making that first move. But until you guys start doing that, you can't harp on men for making the first move, you know?
All right.
I think that'd be an interesting flip because I think there's a lot of men that are actually not quite afraid of rejection as they are of rejecting somebody else.
Yeah.
So, like, for a female, they're completely terrified of the rejection side. I think it'd be interesting because I think guys are terrified of having to reject somebody without being a complete and utter dick.
Yeah. And it's difficult because we're not trained to say no. I mean, it doesn't happen often. Can you guys remember from age of 16 to, let's say, before you got married, how many times a woman propositioned you for sex and you said no?
How many times?
Well,
do I gotta really tell you that?
No, how many times you were propositioned for sex and you said no before you were married or in a serious relationship?
Twice.
But it's substantially more than twice.
But I will say this. It took a lot of bad for me to get to the no portion of that equation. A lot of bad. It took me sincerely fearing for my health.
And for me, it's happened a couple times, but I'm really one of the type of people who will fucking cut off his nose to spite his face. Okay? Like, if a woman pisses me off and I'm just irritated about it and she wants to fuck, I'll say, oh, hell no, I'm not fucking you. Even though physically I would totally do it. There's no way I would stop. But I'm too pissed and getting in my own way, you know? But most men, I mean, it's nowhere near on the same level of women. Like, women probably on a day-to-day basis have to say, no, I don't want to fuck you. Okay? Dick has to be the most heavily marketed fucking item in the worldwide marketplace. You are constantly seeing dick for sale everywhere. Okay? Especially if you're a woman, it's just in your face constantly. You know those irritating people in the mall?
Literally.
You know those irritating people in the mall kiosks where you're like trying not to catch their eye, trying to pretend to talk to the person you're coming, and they're just waiting to give you this fucking hair fucking conditioner sample? That's what it's like for a woman, except almost every guy is that fucking irritating person in the mall. Okay? Just, hey, would you like this dick? This dick's good. No, this will be the best dick you've ever had. God damn it. I don't need this. Okay? Get out of my face.
The best dick you ever had.
So I understand how women get so.
This will make your hair feel nice and silky smooth.
But you guys got to understand, there's a very real chance if you're a guy of ending up all alone and dying in a fucking one-man apartment. Okay? That really isn't as much of a chance for a woman. some guy is going to proposition you at some time. But if a guy doesn't go out there to get it, they're not going to fucking get it. That's all. That's my rant.
Yep.
All
Agreed.
right. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. So next week, I guess we can delve into this whole like how would a world with reverse gender stereotypes work?
Reverse gender set. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, in my mind, I'm curious, and we're out of time. But
You're gonna have to frame this up for us to make this.
pretty much in a world where the women are the aggressors.
All right, we'll get there.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But it'll be very interesting because it's actually one of the questions I've been meaning to ask you guys based on another incident. But it's fine. We'll get to it later.
All right.
Anyway, I think that wraps up the show. You guys got any parting shots, Mr. Alone in the Dark?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to throw out there. Maximilian Uriarte, I can't pronounce this guy's name. Anyways, he's the designer on or the artist on terminallance.com. Great fucking comic book if you're an ex-Marine or really anybody. He just put out a book, Terminal Lance, the White Donkey. It's on Amazon. It's on a couple other places, I think. You guys should really check out that book. The kid's hilarious, and I really want to support him out there. He's been out there busting his ass, making a good name for himself. So everybody go check that out. Terminal Lance, the White Donkey. It's on Amazon. I'm looking at it right now. And I'll post the link in our comments below.
And
Mr. Puppet Master?
well, I'll post the link for my GoFundMe account called Make Me Rich, and it's just for that, Make Me Rich.
That's all. Just make me rich, please.
Fair question. And my parting shot is Dane Gallion. For those that don't know, Dane Gallion is the guy who recently went to go watch the movie 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, and shot a woman in the shoulder in the process with his weapon. So there's that guy. There's cops tampering with their cameras and their microphones so that people can't see it. And there's the Planned Parenthood that got taken to court for the fetal tissue, illegal selling of fetal tissue, who got charged guilty for illegal selling of fetal tissue, but they're not going to go through any kind of criminal conviction or anything. They're just going to go after the videographers. So just putting it out there, conservatives and liberal extreme people, you were all right. You were all right about everything. Every fear you had was accurate.
Damn, charged with selling. You know what I did? One thing I really loved about that whole issue is people kept posting this thing like, if I cut up babies and sell them, I'd go to jail, but if Planned Parenthood does it, it's okay. It's like, you could list that with if I pull teeth out of your face, I go to jail, but if a dentist does it, it's okay. Yeah, medical people do weird shit. That's not a good argument. Find a better argument, you know?
I saw a version of that where some guy posted all of these chemical compounds that can kill you and the amounts that they can kill you in, and then at the end of it they were like, oh, just so you know, this is your blood. These are all the chemical elements in your blood on average. Obviously we're talking about in mass quantities, so whenever people post those crazy things of look at all these chemicals, and yes, they put weird chemicals in it, and some of these fruits and whatnot have weird chemicals in it naturally. Don't let the names freak you out. But I wanted to leave that parting shot because I just realized the more I've been reading this stuff, it's just like, yeah, they're all right. People that think more guns on the street will kill people, you're right. People that think, Planned Parenthood is selling fetal tissue illegally, you're right too.
You have to link me to that too because I can't find it. But anyway, we're about to wrap this shit up.
That's all I got.
That wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I've been your host, Jonathan Esther, out of California.
This is Alone in the Dark out of Puppet Master's mother-in-law's house. But
that's fucked up, yo. That's fucked up, yo.
That's petty.
She's probably listening.
My mother-in-law's a saint.
She's a nice woman. That's Puppet Master. I'm out.
All right, we'll catch you guys later. Have a great one, guys.